So there we were, gathered around the dining table for what promised to be a typical Sunday family dinner. The conversation was flowing, albeit with the usual topics: Aunt Linda's new knitting hobby, Dad's obsession with the neighbor's lawn care routine, and my brother's ongoing quest to find the perfect guacamole recipe. That's when Uncle Tony decided to introduce us to his latest acquisition, a so-called invisible dog named Max. Now, Uncle Tony was known for his eccentricities, like the time he tried to convince us he could juggle time zones, but this was a new level even for him. We all chuckled, assuming it was just another one of his elaborate jokes. As Uncle Tony started pantomiming petting and feeding Max, the invisible dog, things took a turn for the ridiculous. My cousin Jessica, ever the skeptic, rolled her eyes and tried to ignore the spectacle. But as Uncle Tony insisted on demonstrating Max's tricks, she couldn't help but get involved. Soon enough, the whole family was engaged in an impromptu game of fetch, with everyone taking turns pretending to throw a non-existent ball. Even Grandma, who usually stayed out of Uncle Tony's antics, was on her feet, clapping and cheering on the invisible pup as if it were competing in the Westminster Dog Show. By now, our dinner had transformed into a full-blown theater production, with Uncle Tony leading us like a deranged conductor. We were all performing for an audience of one, an invisible dog that only existed in our collective madness. The family cat, Whiskers, looked on with what could only be described as disdain, clearly judging us for our descent into absurdity. Plates were forgotten, food went cold, and yet we couldn't stop. The invisible Max was now the star of the night, and we were all just supporting cast members in his imaginary world. Finally, as dessert was being served, Uncle Tony stood up, looking more serious than he had all evening. He cleared his throat and announced that Max had a special talent we hadn't yet witnessed. We all leaned in, eager to see what could possibly top the invisible antics we'd already experienced. Uncle Tony took a deep breath, looked around the table, and said, "Max," he paused for dramatic effect, "is not just an invisible dog, he's also a barking genius." With that, he started barking out jokes, each one more groan-worthy than the last. The night ended in laughter, proving that while the dog was invisible, the punchline was very much in plain sight.